All right, that's my videotape. I'm going to record myself here too. So how many of you have access to the internet with your computer? I think everybody probably does, right? And so we're going to talk about computers, networks, internet, and email. So this might be slightly different than what's in your schedule for the whole class, but I think we'll get some good information here. So why would you want two computers to talk to each other, to communicate with each other? What are the things that you could do if you connect your computer to another computer? Anybody have some ideas? Information, sharing information, or getting information from another computer, absolutely. And somebody else said something, I didn't hear it. But sharing data is one of the ways that you would use your computer. You could create a file and then you could share it with somebody else. They could update the same file, or they could move it from one computer to the other. Another way that computer networks work is that they give you the ability to share peripherals. So you could have a printer that many computers could share. We have a printer up here that's connected to here, but it might be connected to all of them as well. I don't know. Andy, do you know if all the computers can print to this printer up here?
I think so.
Yeah. So we've got one printer, but everybody can use it. That's what I mean by sharing a peripheral. We can share a service like the internet. You may have more than one computer at home, but you only have one connection to the internet, and all the computers in your home use the same connection, whether it's Cable One or some other service. Gather information from websites. So once we have the ability to share services, share an internet connection, share services from one computer to the other, it kind of evolved into the internet. The internet is tremendous for providing a lot of information, an easy way to find information, and view it on your computer screen at home. And you can access services on those websites. So besides looking at a web page that has some text and some pictures, what are some other things you can do by going to a website?
You can download updates.
You can download updates for your computer. That's excellent. That's a really key thing. Nowadays the software is evolving so quickly, and there's so many people trying to break it that they do update rather quickly, especially for your antivirus software. Probably updates maybe several times a day, but then Microsoft Windows gets updates on a monthly basis as well, sometimes more frequently. Besides getting updates, what other services can we get from the internet?
Bill paying, banking.
Banking, right, online bill pay. You can check your accounts and you can pay a bill. You can do all of that, transfer money from one account to the other. So it's a lot more than looking at a picture and looking at some text. You're actually taking action, and typically what you're doing is you're logged on, or you're logged on to that web page so that they authenticate who you are, so not anybody can get into your account, and it could be your email account or your banking account or something like that. So then there's a whole nother level of security that's involved in doing something like that. Any other services, any other things?
Shopping.
Go shopping, right, Amazon.com or any of eBay, any of those sites like that. You can go shopping from the convenience of your own home. And what's one of the exciting things about that is there are shopping websites that aggregate. The shopping website goes out and looks for your product all over the internet, and then it'll give you a list. You can buy it here, here, or here, and here's the prices from each of them. So you're one click away from the best price on the internet for that particular item, especially if it's a commodity type of item that's easy to purchase like that. So great information. Any other services you can think of that you can do?
All kinds of things.
I was going to say, you can not only buy, but you can sell.
Sell, right, with eBay or other, sell your own products. You could create a website and sell your products through your own website. Absolutely.
You can book all kinds of things.
Travel, exactly. Book the travel and things like that.
Tickets.
You can
Tickets.
print your boarding pass.
Get your boarding pass. Yeah, exactly. That's great. Thank you, Phil.
Yep.
So, I know myself that I really enjoy speaking in front of people. I think I'm very comfortable in front of people giving a presentation. I think I have some information to share. And about halfway into this, my voice is just going to stop working for about 2 minutes, and I'll have to drink some water to get it alive again. And And as far as I know, it sounds really nasty when it doesn't hurt that bad, but it sounds bad when it happens, so. I'm gonna try keeping myself lubricated and not have to go there, but we'll see. We'll see what it happens. All right, good. So we know why you wanna hook two computers together. So, in your home, what is needed to create a network, and most of you already have a computer and a connection to the internet. So, you need at least one computer, you need a modem, you need an ISP, which is your internet service provider. You can also use a router. You need some type of software that lets you go to web pages, which is called browser, and you need an email software if you're doing that type of email. There's two types of email. One needs some program on your computer. So who is using, of these local internet service providers, how many people are using Cable One? Okay, about half it looked like. What other choices are there? What do you use? CommSpeed? Quest?
Satellite.
Satellite? Oh, that's great. Quest, CommSpeed, satellite. Okay, so there are places where you need to have a satellite connection because there's physically no other choice. You would say, well, what about my phone? I have Quest telephone. Why can't I get Quest internet? The Quest telephone internet service, called DSL, has a limited range. You can only be so many feet, so many thousand feet from their central office or from their switching point. If you're further than that, away from their switching point, you can't get the internet service. Cable One doesn't have the same kind of limitation. Oh, let me go back to Quest for a second. The further you are away, the slower your speed. So if you're downtown Prescott, you can get tremendous high speed from Quest, but then you're out a few miles from the center of town and your speed will be less. And in my experience, it seems to me that Cable One gives you the most bang for the buck. And I'm really interested in speed and download speed and how fast I can get the files into my computer. I actually like to watch some television programs on my computer across the internet. I'm very interested in that high-speed connection. That's why I've chosen Cable One. Cable One has 3,000, 5,000, and 8,000 speed, which is the best you can get in the area at this time. The satellite, I imagine, is considerably slower than that. Is there a average speed?
It seems slower.
Seems slower. Okay. And of course, there's dial-up, but we're not talking about that anymore. That's just kind of antiquated and doesn't. Certainly, you're not going to be able to do something like watch a video. Back to the internet, back to services we talked about, going to the bank. You can watch videos on the internet now too. You can watch movies, you can watch TV shows across the internet. That's something else you could get from the internet. Okay, so the way this works, and all of you, sounds like you're all familiar with it, Cable One has a plug in the wall, and you've got a wire coming out of the wall. This box right here is called the modem. It converts the signal coming from Cable One, that coaxial cable that hooks to the back of the TV. They have some kind of splitter that sends one signal to your TV and one signal to this box. This is the modem that translates that into a computer signal. This is your network cable. This is called Ethernet. And with this setup right here, you could connect one computer to Cable One. All right, how many of you have more than one computer at home? Okay, so the way that you do that, you need another piece of equipment. This is called a router, and you probably have, anybody have something that looks like this at home? Okay, so this one allows you to plug in Cable One into here, and now I can hook up more computers. It basically is a splitter. It routes the computer signals to all of your computers. So this one happens to be a wired router, which means I need a wire to every computer that I'm going to use has to have a wire to it. There are also routers that have an antenna on them, and that's a wireless router. And then you can have a laptop computer that has wireless, and you can have that anywhere in the house. Typically, there's a certain amount of distance that wireless is capable of, but as long as you're close to the router, you'll get a good signal and you'll be able to surf the internet, check your email and everything. So the other advantage of the router is it makes a network of the computers that are connected to it. So out on the internet, there's a network of computers. They're all talking to each other. But within your own house, with this router, you can connect, you can create a network, and then what can you do? If you have a network of computers, what's one of the things that we talked about that we could do? If
Share
we-
peripherals.
Share peripherals. We could have one printer that everybody in the house could use. We could have one connection to the internet that everybody could use. We could share files between the different computers. We could have a movie on one computer and we could watch it on another computer, something like that. Now, I said that these wireless routers, they have an antenna on them. Well, the newest wireless routers, the antennas are built inside of the box. Oh well, it wasn't working anyway. So we didn't damage it.
You working now?
This is the latest router from Linksys. The antennas are inside of the case, so you don't even see antennas sticking out anymore. So, just so you know, if you wanted one of your desktop type of computers, this type of computer that we have, to have a wireless capability, this is a card that you would insert inside the computer, and it would give you that wireless capability that would then communicate to your router. All right. So I like to think about it similar to your cordless phone, where you have a cordless phone, you have the base station, and then you can have your handsets anywhere in the house. That's kind of how the wireless router works. It sets up the base station, and then your laptops or your computers can be around the house, and they connect over radio signals to the router. Once you connect to the router, it connects to the cable modem that connects to your internet service and out to the internet. Does that all make sense? Any questions about the concepts of hooking everything up together? All right. And everybody's happy with the way their network works at home, and you've got everything's working well at home as far as the computers are communicating?
What about
The OLLI is called a wireless service. It's very similar to ComSpeed. So let's say how this works. Cable 1 goes through the cable TV wires, is how you get your internet. Quest DSL is on your phone line. ComSpeed and OLLI, they actually have an antenna on the top of the mountain, maybe Mingus Mountain, and your house has an antenna on it that communicates to that antenna. It's like a radio station that ComSpeed or OLLI is putting out. And so the communication from your house to ComSpeed or OLLI is a wireless connection. It's not exactly the same wireless as your laptop would have and your wireless network inside your house. It's wireless, but it's a different kind. Just like cell phones are wireless, but a different kind of service.
Is it reliable?
The OLLI, yes. OLLI and ComSpeed are both very reliable. Who had ComSpeed? A couple people. Have you had any problems with it in particular, or? No. It's very reliable. Not quite as fast as what Cable One offers, but the price is less expensive than Cable One as well. So.
'Cause I'm right at the outer limits of Quest.
Okay.
The 18,000 feet is the limit, and I'm at 22,000, so, yeah, so it sometimes gets interrupted.
I would think that'd be pretty flaky service at best. Yeah. Now, one of the things.
Bob?
Yeah.
Might give you an update on that too. You might call in and see if they have anything closer now, because what you're saying is true for the 18,000 feet from our serving central office.
Yep.
Okay, from Quest. But they have now through fiber optics put out equipment out in the field, okay, that extends that range for equipment that I used to work for Quest, okay, that we would build out there. And for example, 18,000 feet, we've got DSL service working from Prescott in Congress right now. To give you,
Well, I'm near Thumb Butte.
yeah, and there may be, I don't know, there may be a new installation that they've made at Thumb Butte, okay, for serving that area. So you might give them a call and ask them if there are DSL packages there have a shorter distance.
So here's a website for you to take a look at. This is my favorite one for checking the speed of my internet. It's speakeasy.net. Speakeasy, all one word, .net. And then actually when you go to their webpage, when you go to speakeasy.net, down on here you'll see where it says speed test right there. Click on that. and it will give you the ability to check the speed of your internet. So if you ever think your internet is slow for some reason, you can actually run a test on it. So I choose Los Angeles because that's the closest one to us here in Prescott, and we're getting a tremendous speed. The college is paying for a really high-speed internet connection. It's over 16,000. I said Cable One provides 3,000, 5,000, and 8,000, so this is twice what Cable One would give you. So they have some kind of special internet service here. If you, and the download as well. So when you test this at home, you're going to see 700, you're 1,500, 3,000, 5,000, 8,000. If you get above 8,000, call me, because I want to come over and watch TV at your place. But that would be a check you could run, particularly when you're saying the speed is a little flaky, you're right on the edge. You could check it, you could see maybe in the heat of the day, in the middle of the day, maybe the speed is less or something like that. You could kind of do some troubleshooting with Quest and say, well, every day at 3 o'clock my speed goes, down, and that would help them to troubleshoot it.
When you say it's 3, 5, and 8,000, to
Yep.
buy one of those speeds?
Right, you pay for a certain
pay more
level of
for a faster
service.
speed?
Pay more for a faster speed, right. And so the reason, there's a couple reasons you might think of getting the higher speed. It would be, the number of computers in the house. If you have 1 or 2 computers in the house, they aren't both going to be grabbing lots of data at exactly the same moment. But if you get 5 or 6 or 8 computers in the house and all the kids are doing homework and playing games on the internet, then you might want to get a faster speed so that everybody has a good experience on the internet when you start, splitting it between all the different computers. So, any questions about that? I'm moving on. All right, the advanced home networking we talked about, we've already covered all of this. When you get into the wireless networking, when you have laptop computers, when you have somebody come to visit and they bring their laptop computer, what they're going to find is the base station, which is your router, puts out a signal, creates a bubble of service around your house, and somebody brings in their laptop and it'll say there's a wireless network here. Now the wireless network, you give it a name. That's called this SSID. That's the name of your network. If you buy one from Linksys, it'll say Linksys. But I recommend you go in and change it so it doesn't, so that you should give it a name that's unique. So that's my network, right? Could be your last name, could be your street address, could be your phone number, could be whatever information. You can name it whatever you want. You could name it the dog's name. So just so it has a name, when the laptop comes into the bubble, it'll say, here's the Jones network. Do you want to connect to it? Then we get to the next place right here. If they took it out of the box and connected it, there's no password. So you're sharing your internet with anybody that drives by, comes by, your neighbors. You want to put a password on your wireless network so that it's not shared to just everybody that comes by, and so you have some control over it. So whatever the password you put into the router when you set it up, you need to put the same password into the laptop when it tries to connect. You only have to do that once. It'll remember that going forward from there. But that's where I find people get tripped up, is configuring their wireless network. It's not hard, but it's just a couple of steps that you have to think about. And those are the main things that I want you to know about wireless networking. And then when the kid comes home from college, they'll say, how come I can't connect? And then you say, well, here's the password. And if it's a really good password, it'll have to be written down or recorded somewhere, because it won't be something you can memorize. It'll be upper and lower case, it'll be numbers and letters, it'll be just a gobbledygook mess that nobody could really, just guess what your password is. Questions about that or security? Yeah, go ahead.
Now, when mine was set up, I don't know if there's a password. There probably isn't a password there, because they've never told me to do anything with my wireless.
So your neighbors might be using it right now.
Okay, so when I go home, what do I do to get to the point, get a password? What do I do?
The short description of that would be you'd set up your router. So you might go back to the documentation or the CD that came with your router, and they'll walk you through some instructions in setting up the router.
All right.
All all right? And then you'd go back to your laptop and you'd configure it with the password that you create. So you create a password and it matches up.
Well, you're saying laptop, but I have a desktop.
Okay, so I don't think that you're using wireless, or you
Well,
wouldn't.
I have a router, and the other computer is an iMac.
Okay,
An iMac is a Mac,
Mac,
and it has it built in to communicate.
okay,
They put something in there to communicate to one of the other room,
okay.
but I don't know, how do I find out if there's a password? Should I call the people that did it?
That would probably be the best
Okay.
choice. If I go, I thought I saw some networks here. Okay, oh, I turned it off. Give me a second. I can kind of show you the difference. When you connect to the wireless network, it'll say it has a password or it doesn't have a password. All right.
It'll show up on the screen on my.
Yeah. In Windows XP, when I tell my laptop to search for wireless networks, this one doesn't have a password. See, these have a lock,
Oh.
so all three of those have passwords. This is Windows XP, and on a Mac it's going to be different. But this one I could connect to, and I could use this internet service.
Okay.
So, just so you know, that's how you can tell on a Windows XP machine.
Okay.
All right. Moving forward, browsers. So I talked about at the beginning how you need some software to go to web pages, and that's called a browser, that class of software that does that thing. Internet Explorer comes with your computer, comes with a Windows computer from Microsoft. Firefox is the most popular alternative for that, and you would get Firefox by going to a web page and downloading the program and installing it on your computer. The functions of a browser are basically to allow you to go to different web pages. Just like I went to this Speakeasy, I can type in Yahoo and I can go to Yahoo, right? Brings up the Yahoo page. So I type in the address of a web page and it displays the web page up on the screen. And everybody is familiar with doing that, typing in and going to different web pages? Okay, great. Just so you know, there's a shortcut as well. If you type in Google, all right, just the word Google, nothing else, and if I hit down the control key and I hit enter, it will fill in everything else for me. It'll fill in http://www. before the word and after the word .com. It'll automatically do that for you. So this is going to save you a lot of typing.
How did you do that?
Type in CNN, that's the website I want to go to, and then hold down the control key and press enter at the same time, and it will automatically fill the rest in for you. It's a pretty nice feature, and both Firefox and Internet Explorer have that feature. And that's going to save you just lots and lots of time. Just that one little tip there. Going back, using tabs, okay. The next thing I wanted to show you was using tabs. So I have CNN open, and I have a little tab right here that says CNN. And there's a little square box over there. This is Internet Explorer, but the same thing applies to Firefox. I click on that new tab, and now I could have Google in this tab. I can click on a new tab, and I can have PCS show up in this tab. Now, I did two things there. I opened a new tab, and I also clicked on a button. You see these buttons that I've got across here? Okay. Each of those buttons represents one of my different websites that I like to visit. And these are called bookmarks or favorites, and it's remembering websites that you've been to in the past. But you see, now that I've opened up the PCS, the Prescott Computer Society, Google, and CNN, I don't have to type them in and type them in. They're already open for me. I can just switch from one to the other. Now that I have my perfect setup, I've got these three tabs that I want to see every time. I can go into my tools and internet options, and I can say use current. You see what it did? It filled in CNN, Google, and Prescott Computer Society. Now every time I open up Internet Explorer, it'll bring up all three pages for me right away. This is an enormous time saver if there's websites that you go to all the time. When you open up the browser, it can bring all the pages up at once. Is that, yeah, go ahead.
Can you go through the steps again as to
Okay.
how you did the tabs?
Right. So let me close the tab so we can start from our starting point. So what should our first tab or first page open be? Let's change it around. Let's say Google is the first one. Okay, this is Internet Explorer 7, by the way. There's different versions of software. You may have an older version of software. This has been current for over a year now, but if you don't have this little box here, or these little buttons, you might not have this. Now Windows is offering this as an update. So at some point you said, I don't want Internet Explorer 7. So you might want to go back and get this, because this is really a nice feature, I think.
How much is that?
All right. This comes from Microsoft, and it's free. It's a free update. Yes, you don't have to pay for this. You don't have to pay for Firefox either, and Firefox does exactly the same thing. I don't want to give you too much here, but okay, how would we find, if you go into Help and About Internet Explorer, it'll tell you what version you're using. All right, did you see how I did that on this list of File, Edit, View, Favorites, Tools, and Help, About Internet Explorer? Told me I'm using 7. As long as I'm using 7, I can do this. Go ahead.
Do you need any extra RAM or hard drive space to download 7?
You need a little bit of hard drive space. You need a little bit of RAM to run it. Most computers, it wouldn't tax them. But if for some reason you think your computer might be, really extended already, you might want to check it. You might want to check your hard drive space, your RAM. My experience with Windows XP is 512 megabytes of RAM is a good number. But if you're going to do a lot of work, then you might want more than that. But each computer is a little bit different. So if you have a really old computer that's already having trouble keeping up with you, it might be a problem. But for most computers, it wouldn't be.
When you download a newer version, does it overlay the old, or do you have both of them in there?
It overlays the old
Great.
version, so you don't have to worry about that. So what I did after I had my first page open, I clicked on that square right at the end, and it opened another one. It said I opened a new tab. Now what do I want to have in this tab? How about the weather for Prescott Valley? I actually already have the tab for that. All right, so I type in weather.com and I put in my zip code 86314. I get this beautiful ad, which I hate, and then I find out it's 55 degrees in Prescott Valley. And then I click on the next. I want to open another web page, so I click on that again. And this one, I want to know what the news is like. So, what news service do you like the best?
New York Times.
The New York Times. Now, I don't know exactly what the website is for New York Times, so I can go over here. Is it NYT? If I know the exact, I can type in nyt.com and see what I get. That's it. That did work. It's NY Times is what it took me to, but NYT also works. And they could have multiple names like that, web pages that you can go to. If I really didn't know what it was, I could go to Google and I could type in New York Times. All right, because I don't know what it is. New York. Yeah, let's see. It actually,
It's all right, it found it.
even though I typoed it, okay.
So fast.
So what I did was I typed in New York Times. I even typed it wrong, but it still figured out what I was doing. All right, and then this is my link. When I click here, it will take me to the website nytimes.com. So it's telling me where I'm going to go.
Google knows what you want before you know what you want.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So in other words, this Explorer Internet 7 is a more advanced favorites.
Right.
It's-
Yeah, exactly. Now that I've gotten to my New York Times website, I could say, well, I want to go back there in the future. I could go to favorites and I could say, add this as a favorite. And that would just remember this website so I could go back to it later. I can also add it to my list up here. I have a series of buttons right up here. And the way I add a new button to it is I grab right next to New York Times, you see that little symbol? I click on that and I hold my left mouse button down and I pull it. And I put it right next to God. And God is actually GoDaddy, by the way.
They'd like that.
But there is, now I have a button that will take me to New York Times. But it has a really long name, so maybe what I want to do is right-click on it and change that name to something short, like NYT. I spelled that right, I think. Now I have a little tiny button that'll take me to New York Times. So if I'm at Google, for example, and I click on my NYT button, it'll take me right to New York Times. I didn't have to type anything, I just clicked the button. Andy?
Maybe you can show them how you can drag that same button to the desktop and open Internet Explorer and take you there too.
Okay, good suggestion. I'm not sure if I can get to my desktop right now. Let's see if it'll work. No, I think I actually have to close my PowerPoint to get there.
Windows D should do it.
Windows D. See, maybe I learned something. There we go. Now I got to get back into my Internet Explorer. So what Andy was just suggesting was that I take my button. See, PowerPoint is screwing me up here a little bit. I'm going to close that for a second. Okay, and close this. All right, we're at New York Times, and we grab this little icon up in the corner, and we put it on our toolbar, and that gave us a button to New York Times. We can also drag it all the way over to our desktop. All right, and that will create an icon on our desktop for the New York Times. So when I click on this, in my case, it's going to open up our Firefox, but I created an icon that would take me on my desktop that would also take me to New York Times. So it's up, your mileage may vary, you use what you want to use, what works best for you. But there's a variety of different ways where we can get to these websites once we visited them the first time. So when do I, while we're here, when do I just type in the web address up here at the top, and when do I use Google?
That's a good question.
Okay.
If you know it exact, you can type it on the top. If you estimate, you can use Google.
If I know exactly what the website is that I'm going to, I can just save time and type it up here at the top. That's my address. That's the web page that I'm looking at right now. And now I want to go to somewhere else, something short, hp.com. So I type in the HP, I hold down my control, and I hit enter, and it fills in the rest. I knew that the HP website was where I wanted to go. I typed in HP, it took me to hp.com. The next time, I want to go somewhere else. How about Acer computers? How about Dell computers? Well, we know Dell is Dell.com. What about Acer? A-C-E-R. Thank you. I can't speak and type at the same time. Okay, it turns out Acer is easy. It's Acer.com. There's probably some other websites where it's more obscure. Even New York Times, I didn't know what the website was. NYT worked and NY Times also worked. But Washington Post, all right. We don't know exactly the name of the website for Washington Post. Washington Post. So we type that into Google. Now, this is my address bar over here. This over here is a search engine. This is Google. Right there is Google. It could be some other search engines as well. So I don't have to go to Google. I can go right here, and it's the same as if I went to Google. So I type that in, and it says WashingtonPost.com is the Washington Post website. So if it's a more obscure website that you're not familiar with, what did I type in here just recently? ASIS Prescott. It's the massage school here in Prescott. It's ASIS Massage. Okay, I didn't know their website was, it could have been ASIS, it could have been something else, but it turns out that their website. So what I did was I searched, I just put ASIS Prescott, and Google tells me, this is their website, here's their location, here's your directions to it. Google is pretty amazing with what we can, if we click on the map, we can probably zoom in on a satellite picture and see if there's anybody outside on in the grass, you know, around town. So, there we go. There we go. See, you can see the courthouse square right there, and their massage school's right there, and there's Charlotte Hall Museum right there. So, isn't this amazing, the information we can get?
No
Just a few
security anymore.
clicks.
Google is extremely flexible. You could say how many ounces in a gallon. You can type that into Google, it'll tell you. It
Let's
does
see.
mathematics at the same time.
You can
Let's
also
see.
use it to create maps. If Andy says to me, come on over to my house on Saturday and I'll show you something, and I have no idea where he lives, I'll say, what's your address? He'll tell me, I'll type it into the search box on Google and it'll bring me a map. I can't think of a better way not to get lost.
Thought you were gonna
I'm
say
in map.
dictionary. That's coming.
There you go.
Question,
Yeah?
1 U.S. gallon is 128 U.S. fluid ounces.
the terminology browser
Yep.
versus search engine,
Right.
could you explain the difference?
Browser is the software on your computer that allows you to go to websites. A search engine is a website that allows you to search other websites. In this case, this little portion of your browser is connected directly to the website, the search engine website. So you don't have a search engine on your computer, but you have ready access. You have really quick access to it. So, all right, let's see what we did now. Now we have our Google as one page open, we have our Prescott Valley weather as another page, and we have HP's website as another page. Now I want to memorize that so that the next time I open up my Internet Explorer, my browser software, I'm going to get all three of those pages. I go into Tools and Internet Options, and I click Use Current. You see how it filled them in? GoogleWeather.com for 86314 and HP.com. And now I go down here to OK, and the next time I open up my browser, all of three of these web pages will be available. So if there's websites, more than one website that you like to have access to, this is a good way to program that. All right. So let's
Before you
see.
leave this,
Yep.
question. When you go on Google and you search various sites, you'll end up getting a very long list of places you've been. Is there a way to get rid of it?
The history in Google?
You have to delete each one individually, or?
When you type stuff in here, it shows up like a long list of things.
Yes.
Is that, there is a way to clear the history. Google Advanced. I don't have exactly the right in this area you can delete the history and temporary internet files. I believe that if you cleared these, you would get rid of that history of Google searches that you've done in the past.
Maybe, but then again, it's not always history. Sometimes it will offer a suggestion for a place I've never been before.
Right.
So it's not all history. Sometimes it's just offering helpful suggestions.
Yeah, Google does have some settings that you can get into. It's a little beyond our scope for this session, but Google does have some features where you can turn on and off the suggestion capability, where it will try to guess what you're going to before you get it typed in. I don't know who was first. We'll start there.
What's the difference between www dot when you do that, and then sometimes HHTP or whatever that comes up? Is that something I have to know anything about?
The full official recognized address for Google is the whole thing, http://www.google.com. But if you use my little trick where you just type in Google and then do Control and Enter, it will do the rest for you. You just need the middle part, wherever the website is that you want to go to. it's technically, it's all required. The HTTP, the www, the .com, all of that is technically required. But this is a shortcut that would help save you a lot of time in typing that in.
But a lot of times when you're looking for an address, you'll just type in www and you don't do all the HH stuff. Is that, will that not, if you don't put that in, will it not get you to some places?
Like this, www.google.com, like that.
Yeah.
And as soon as I hit enter, the software adds the HTTP to it. So technically it's all required, but there's shortcuts where you don't need to fill it in. One more in the back?
Yeah, I use Google and I have so many favorites that sometimes I have to go for 3 minutes trying to find them. Is there any way to alphabetize them or something?
Actually, if you go down to the area where your favorites are and right-click on it and go down here to sort by name, and then left-click on that, it'll put everything in alphabetical order.
Oh, thank goodness.
All right, did you see what I did? Okay, so your mouse has 2 buttons. So what I'm saying is hit the right button and you'll get this list.
After you get your favorites list.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Click on your favorites list, go down to your favorites, go right-click anywhere on any favorite, and then go down to sort by name, and then left-click that. So it's a right-click and then it's a left-click.
I couldn't figure out why they never put that in organized favorites.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, you can also create folders within your favorites. You could create a folder for travel, you could create a folder for banking, you could create a folder for business or entertainment. You could create folders and put your favorites into folders, which might help with your organization as well. And that's under organized favorites. And this is where you would move them around. You would create a new folder, you would move certain of your favorites into the different folders.
Let me just remind you, remember we were talking about this in the second class? The right click brings up a menu of what you can do. The left click says execute that command, and that's what Bob did rather quickly, but remember that. Right click is a menu, left click is do it.
Now I gotta get back to my page here. Okay. I use tabs, use favorites. Okay, so why would you use Internet Explorer or Firefox? They're both browser softwares, they're both let you go to web pages, they're both free. One of them comes from Microsoft with your computer, the other one you can download for free off their website. Well, the Internet Explorer comes from Microsoft and unfortunately has this history of security problems. It just has been buggy, has errors, people, certain websites can take advantage of some bug in Internet Explorer and then infect your computer. Actually, that seems to be the worst area for getting computers infected with viruses and Trojans these days, is not by email, which used to be where you would get the virus, but going to websites and going to the dark side of the internet, your gambling sites, the porn sites and sites like that that are, more off the beaten path. As long as you're going to Yahoo and MSN and major websites like that, you're not really going to pick up a problem. When your teenage kids start going out to some of the other areas that they like to visit, there's the possibility that they could get infected. And unfortunately, Internet Explorer is easier to get infected. The Firefox is free, and it comes from a company called Mozilla. They support it, but there's a large community of programmers that support it. And the security level has been much higher. There's been less problems. And when the problems come out, they get fixed right away or very quickly. And then they also have add-ons. They have tools that you can add on to the browser to give you more capabilities. But the main thing that you need is a secure access to the internet. When you're going out to websites, you want to make sure you're not bringing anything back to the computer that you don't want in your computer. Dave was going to help me talk about some of these add-ons for Firefox, because Firefox is a browser software. It lets you go to web pages, but you can add on these additional functionalities. The AdBlock Plus allows you to block advertisements from known advertisers that are, internet-wide. So there's a company called DoubleClick and they put advertisements for many of the major websites that you might visit. Well, with this AdBlock Plus, you could say, I don't want anything that comes from DoubleClick. And now your web pages actually have a hole in them where there's a piece missing, where the ad isn't there, but you're not looking at the advertising. So I find that that's a nice tool. The RoboForm allows you to fill in passwords and remember passwords automatically, which is really nice and convenient. Dave, tell me about the previews.
Before we get into that,
Yeah.
Firefox, if you're using Internet Explorer now, as Bob said, Firefox is a lot more secure. One thing that's nice about that, if you download that, install it, it gives you an option for switching all your current favorites from Internet Explorer over to Firefox. You don't have to add them in there. They're already there. Coolris is a little program. Can you bring up Firefox? Do you have it there?
Yep, but I don't have this software in
Oh,
it.
you don't have that? It's a little thing that if you put your icon right next to something, you don't have to click on it. A little small little blue icon will show up. Move your cursor to that icon, it automatically brings up that website without having to click on it. It's a little handy little tool for quick viewing of something.
When you're downloading programs off the internet or files off the internet, there's helpers that will help the downloads operate. Forecast Box is for weather forecast.
Yeah, little toolbar that shows the weather temperatures for your community.
Bob, did you mention what the Coolris previews thing is? Did I miss that?
It's a way that, I haven't used it myself, but Dave was mentioning that you put your cursor over a link.
That's what you're talking about.
You just move your cursor over a link and it previews what the website will look like before you click on that link. So, these are all customization things. None of this is required, but it's convenience type of things. It's something that you might find valuable. The Google toolbar allows you to do, Google searches right from the toolbar. It also provides some other features like autofill. It'll fill in your street address, for example, at all the websites that need that. McAfee Site Advisor is a security thing that will tell you, this is a good website to visit, or this is a questionable website and you might not want to visit there. This is also very good when you get an email from your bank saying that there's a problem with your account and they want you to fill in your password. Well, it's not from your bank, it's somebody trying to fool you and take you to the wrong website and steal your password. So, NoScript prevents scripts from running, and scripts can be a security issue. So this is a nice program to add to Firefox to block web pages from automatically doing things on your computer just when you go to the web page. It's a good security feature to add. Print preview, you can see what the web page is going to look like when you print it before you print it out. There's a tool that allows you to let you know that you have email in Gmail. iEView lets you view web pages in Internet Explorer, and then the Google Bookmarks button, it allows you to keep all your bookmarks and store them on the Google website, and then you can access them remotely, right?
Yes.
You can get to that information remotely. So Firefox has better security and a lot of additional features you can add on to it. This is what the Firefox browser looks like, and when you go to a website, it looks very similar to Internet Explorer. It's hard to tell that we're using a different software, except up at the top it says Mozilla Firefox, and if you go to Help, it says that you're using Firefox instead of you're using Internet Explorer. It works exactly the same. If I type in Yahoo and I hit Control and Enter, my shortcut, it'll fill the whole address in for me. If I want to search for something over here, I can just type in over on the right side, type in what I'm searching for, and it'll do a Google search for that thing that I'm looking for. Just very similar operations to Internet Explorer.
If you want to put Firefox on, what happens to your Internet Explorer?
They're side by side. You can use one or the other one. They're both on your computer.
Slow things down, or?
No. It uses a little bit of hard drive space. It would use a little bit of memory if you had both of them open at the same time. But if you just had one or the other open, it would be a wash as far as the amount of memory that it would use. So.
Firefox is a lot more secure. Every now and then you run across a website that won't load in Firefox. If you have that iEView tab on there, you click on that, automatically takes you to Internet Explorer, you can see that program there.
Don't try to go to Microsoft.com using Firefox, it won't let you. For some reason, because they designed Internet Explorer, they won't allow Firefox. You can't do downloads, you can't do any of those things. As soon as you switch over to Internet Explorer, you can do all those things.
Okay.
The next topic is gonna be getting into email, and I'm wondering if it would be a good time to take a break, or should we?
You can do that.
Okay, why don't we take a break for a few minutes, and then we'll get back into, we'll get into emails, which I know.
Last few sessions, several people said, we want to find out about how to send and receive pictures on the